All right, what's going on, Bill? Looks like we've got some folks starting to pile in. Everyone's on time and punctual. I love it. And we've got more people that are joining. How are things with you today, man?
I'm doing fantastic.
Good.
Life is good. The weather's good. Business is booming for many people.
I love it. Yeah, I think that's, and I'm excited for us to talk through this. And so, really, if you think about our goal for today is really just to talk through leading through change. And I think what's important here is whether you're a leader or whether you're on the front lines or in the middle or somewhere around that, everyone can contribute, and everyone has a component of the things that we're going to talk about that they can go and dramatically impact. And so, this is going to be, I think, a really good mix of both strategy and tactical in terms of what people can do to drive changes if they can at the organizational level, or if not at the departmental, managerial, or even frontline levels. And so as everyone joins in here, we've got some people who already know the drill in chat. Glenn's already dropped his details. Drop your job title and your company name. That'll just help us. One, it'll help you to network. I can't tell you, Bill, I don't know about you on these webinars, how many people have emailed me like, dude, I got like 3 meetings out of just commenting on a webinar. So I encourage everyone to get active. And this also helps to tell us, look, if we have, more leaders on the call, then great. We'll keep the conversation high level, more tactical. We can take it more tactical. So, for everybody, my ask would be, again, James Utton, Senior Sales Manager. What's up, James? Just drop in company name and role. I think that'll be great. Toronto's in the house. Terryberry. I wonder if, is Terryberry actually Toronto, or is that like a neighborhood in Toronto? I don't know enough about Toronto. I don't know if you know, Bill.
That is, I believe, a suburb.
A suburb. Okay. All right. You've got
but
your
I
Toronto.
think Lori knows for sure.
Well, I'm sure Lori does. Oh, Terryberry's the company name. She's like, we're just making assumptions about suburbs.
Yeah, we are.
Toronto.
We should not do that. We should not make assumptions.
I love it. Well, look, everyone, I'm excited to dive into it. So for those of you, I'll give a high level now. Obviously, a lot of you know me. I'm the CEO of Skaled. We are a sales consulting organization. We consult with some of the fastest growing small companies and even some of the largest companies in the world, helping them to modernize aspects of their sales organization. So if you're a leader out there and you are looking for outside support, whether it's strategic or tactical, and I think that's really where we differentiate, is we're really focused on, let's just not talk about what to do. Let's then do the sales enablement, sales operations, and follow through pieces. And Bill, I'll let you introduce yourself. I think, Bill, your background and what you've done is on the strategy side. So Bill, do you want to do a quick intro on yourself?
Yeah, so hi everybody, Bill Prater. So I have spent 37 years dealing with exactly the same audience we're now talking to today, and that is entrepreneurs, business owners, and the senior managers and leaders of those organizations. Roughly half of that was as an investment banker. I had my own firm, and then transitioned, sold that firm in 1999, and continued training, coaching, and mentoring the same exact people. And we didn't arrange for us to have this at this particular time, but during turmoil is the perfect time to talk about the connection between the action that's going on, that we're witnessing as leaders, and the strategy and tactics that are between the two.
Love it. Love it. So Bill, I think, again, if you want to get us kicked off and maybe just talk a little bit about, again, kind of how you're working with leaders right now through this. I know, Bill, we both put together some slides here too. I think, and we'll make sure that these are all available for everybody, easy to download. The other piece is, what I tell everybody in these is be selfish, meaning use the Q&A. If you have a question, if you're like, look, this is happening in my business. Bill and I are not doing this. Bill and I aren't teachers. We don't get, we don't get graded for an instruction. We're trying to drive change here, right? Bill and I are both focused on really arming each of you with the skills and things that you need to be more successful. So please take advantage of the Q&A, drop questions in there. And then Bill, if you want, I can, as you're going through, I can kind of feed some in if we get some, and then vice versa. So then you can kind of hit your flow. So Bill, I'm going to turn it over to you. I expect lots of questions, and let's jump into it.
Okay, so I can, Jake, I can see the questions. I can't right now see the chat, but because of the way I have my slides set up. And what we're going to do really today is I'm going to talk from effectively the vision and strategy component. And then as Jake's already teed up for us, we're going to get a little more tactical as we get into there. And we'll have time at the end for questions. But if you've got a question and in the moment, I should be able to see it off to my right-hand side there. So I've kind of teed this up as a demonstration. And what I mean by that is that we're going to give you an opportunity to see what's working now during our current time of, if you will, turmoil and trouble. And we'll talk about some success stories and why there's really no reason whatsoever that all of us can't thrive in these kinds of environments. So I'm going to show you how one of my last clients increased revenue for 27 consecutive months by implementing a proven and simple accountability model that we'll be looking at you. I'll take about 20 minutes, and after that we'll hand the baton, so to speak, to Jake, and then we'll get a little bit more tactical as we go through that. So agenda-wise, this is for my portion, not for the whole webinar today, but I'll talk about who should benefit, give you a little bit more detail on myself. I'll give you the promise, or if you will, what you should expect from sitting through this 20-minute demonstration. I'll give you some proof about how the model that we're going to be talking about, called SCALEOLOGY, actually works. And then we'll go into the kind of a point by point of what it is and how it does work, and then why does it work so well? Why does it work all the time? Why does it work for all kinds of companies? Why does it work for all different departments inside of a company? Why does it work in the sales team, and the marketing team, and the operations team? We'll show you all of that. And then we'll talk about some next steps, pretty simple. When we get to the end, we'll show you some things that you might want to do going forward. So first, who will benefit? Well, those of you who are here. So if you're an entrepreneur, a small business owner, senior manager, leader within those kind of companies, then you probably want to increase revenue, increase bottom line cash flow, and be responsible whole or in part of increasing monthly value of the whole business month after month after month. And then let's do that without wearing ourselves out in the process. So a little bit more about me. I already told you that I used to own an investment bank. I sold it in 1999. Since then, I've been training, coaching, and mentoring the same audience, if you will. And my primary objective is I measure my success on how much I can increase the bottom line value of the business, or what a business can be, if you will, sold for. Over the years, I've written several books. This is my last one. It's currently kind of in pre-publication form. PDF right now. It'll be published in the near future. As I mentioned before, I've always dealt with exactly the same people, so I'm kind of stuck in a rut, if you will. So what's the promise? Well, the promise is I want you to think about a slice in time, and specifically, I'd like you to think about maybe next Monday morning, and you get up and you go into your office, or what substitutes for your office nowadays, and you sip your first beverage of the day. You open up your calendar, whatever form it's in, and you'll feel a smile going across your face as you see that your entire business or your department or your initiative is operating as a fine-tuned, well-oiled, and smooth-running machine. And even though you're in the midst of the worldwide, if you will, slowdown, you see that last month was the best month you've ever had, and that everybody's productivity is better than it's ever been, and your business is growing faster than ever before. And bottom line is, if you want to, all you really need to do is make the coffee. So that's the promise. That's what we're going to talk about in the next few minutes. So where's the proof of all of this? Well, I'm going to give you a couple of examples. I'm going to give you three specifically. Here's Natalie, and she runs a little business. She's got 3 total employees, and she said, with the personal mentoring and the help of the Scaleology model that I'm showing you today, she's doubled her revenue and cash flow this year. And now she has the highest performing team that she's ever had. Now, to give you some perspective, she has over a $3 million business and she's got 3 people. Here's Craig Barber. Now, Craig's the guy that I actually mentioned in the title slide. His business is bigger. He's got 50 people, and 5 people are in the senior leadership management positions. So he said, and you already know this, that using Bill's model over the past 27 months, every one of those months has been the best month ever, and he's loving it. So just think that July was better than June, was better than May, etc. And you can see by the title of his company, he's a printer. Here's a larger company. I wanted to show you that range. Point being, the model you're going to see works with little teeny sub $500,000 per year companies and companies that are well north of 500 million. So Snelson has actually gone kind of full circle. By that I mean, when I first started with them, they were in position A, and today they've sold. They're now part of this group called PLH. But before, when I met them, or their current state of affairs when I first met them, now these numbers may not fit you, probably won't. First off, you're not likely to own a construction company. So, but let's go through this, because the point I'll make is that we're going to change states from current circumstances to future circumstances using the model you're going to see. So the company had $10 million in sales. Were making 3% bottom line. The company was worth $2.4 million. Sounds like a big number maybe, but there were 6 people to share that with. They were located in Northwest Washington. Now, a point about that. I'd like you to think about yourself as I tell you this next point. So when I first met the owner of this company, his name was John, he described his company as being a $10 million company located in a single county in northwestern Washington state. So by just saying that, he's limited his scope. Jake will talk about the fallacy and the craziness of putting yourself into a little box. Because think about this, if you had a job that was bigger than 10 million, you wouldn't show it to these people. If you had a job that was even in a different county, you wouldn't show it to these people. So he was limiting himself. And he personally was working 50 to 75 hours per week. And worse than that is that when I went up to see him the very first time, there was a line outside of his office, people waiting for him to make all the decisions. He was effectively the blockade, or the barrier in his own pipeline. Afterwards, he had grown his revenue to 225 million. Profits were 40 million. He sold his business for 240. He was now all over the United States and in Canada, and he was totally hands off. So when he sold the business with, frankly, enough money to go around here, he was not working at all. So it gets even better than that, because in addition to being able to have the transitions that you've seen from Natalie and Craig and John, you don't have to use what used to work in the past, or somebody had it work once. You don't have to tell everybody in your company what to do all the time. You don't have to micromanage everything, or work ungodly hours, or hope everybody does their job, or make every decision like John was doing, or be the last one paid, or constantly changing direction. Jake and I have seen dozens of companies, hundreds of companies doing what they call a pivot, because their old strategy didn't work anymore. You don't have to do that. Don't settle for the results that you're getting. Make it change. You don't have to referee everything that goes wrong. You don't have to fight every fire, and you don't have to, this is probably the worst part, The temptation is to, when you see something shiny and new, to jump on it and do that. You don't have to do that anymore. You just have to do 3 things with this model. Number 1 is use the model to design the future you want for your business, and then use the system you're going to see to manage your business with 1 meeting a month. Now that's the entire business. If you're running a department, these meetings might happen once a week, for example, but 1 meeting per period to manage their whole business. And then third, use the accountability method to amplify or improve each person's productivity. So how does it work? Well, in general, there's 3 strategic business principles that you can find every place. Number 1 is you're supposed to have a plan. Now, I realize everybody doesn't have a plan, but I looked today just to see, and I found 45 plus companies that will sell you a tool or a template or a method to make a plan. Now, these kind of plans that they're describing, if they're even done, sit on the shelf and get dusty all the time. Number 2, if you're the business principles, to have a process or a method or a procedure. Now, I decided to go on Amazon and I looked, there were over 100,000 books talking about business processes. 100,000, amazing. Number 3 is to produce results. So if you will, plan, use a process, produce results. Now I'm going to show you the best plan, the best way to do that, the best process to use, and the best method to use. So let's kind of dive into those and look at them. So instead of planning, if you will, in the traditional way, the way the Scaleology model works is it kind of groups things together and turns the whole, if you will, general approach on its head. Now, I did all this back when I was at an investment bank, and I was told that all businesses have to operate differently. Not true. Really, what you need to do is to dream big and then attach goals to it. So generally, in less than a half a day, we can build this book of goals, which I call a brain book. It's a book of goals. It's a list of goals for the company. Typically 10, 12, maybe as many as 16 vital goals. All can fit in this book. What's best about it is it doesn't get old or dusty because it's in play every day, all the time. Then next area, best process to have is a model that I created several years ago, 20 years ago, in fact. And it fundamentally what it is that once a month at the company level, you run a certain kind of a meeting. It's called a SET meeting, S-E-T, Strategic Execution Team Meeting. What do? You look at the goals scorecard, which I call a vital driver dashboard, and that dashboard has on it the goals we set back in the plan area, month by month by month. So here we are in the middle of August. If we had a meeting, this meeting now, we would be looking at the goals for July. This scorecard always shows about 70% green, meaning 70% of the goals are being accomplished all the time in every company and every department within the company. So imagine that, it's always 70%. Third, production. Now, if you look at most companies, people are busy, and there's nothing wrong with being busy, but what we want is you want that action or the activity of the sales force, for example, or the activity of the production people, or the activity of the marketing group to be connected to your vision and your goals through a term called commitments. So you want people to make commitments to get the scorecard to 70% green. Then each of them individually, we want to manage them to 70% success all the time. So this whole thing that I just described is called the Scaleology model, and it's got 3 pieces, specifically mindset, system, and team, which fit into the 3 business principles. So why does it work so well? It works so well because it's a simple model. to understand and to implement. Everybody in the business can understand the model and implement from day one. Almost everybody that adopts this model has a day one. It's so simple to understand that people can jump on and execute from day one, minute one. The system, I already mentioned this, works in every company, in every niche, in every department, in every team, every project throughout up and down the company. And the reason for that is because the vision and the strategy and the plan for the future get embraced by every shareholder. The businesses never outgrow the model. I showed you Natalie's and Craig's and John's businesses ranging from under $1 million to well over 500 million. Every person gets into the habit of committing and delivering 70% of the time. You only have to go to one meeting per month if you run a department or a project. That sometimes get to once per week, but only one meeting. It's an accountability meeting. And then winning becomes an overall habit. That's why it works so well. Now, what's the outcome? The outcome is back to the slice in time. You'll wake up every Monday morning, and while you're looking at your calendar, you'll see that the entire department business project is running as a fine-tuned, well-oiled, smooth-running machine. And last month was the best month you've ever had. Everybody's productivity is higher than ever before. Your business continues to grow faster than ever. And all you have to do is make the coffee. So what do we implement? Well, when people jump into this model and want to go, we implement the plan, and the plan includes a variety of if you will, knowledge points or bits and pieces that you need to know to implement the plan. The process, same thing. It has a variety of things people need to know to implement. The production, same thing. There's 6 of them. Now, this is a total of 20 things. So how do we do this? We develop a core learning process, which is really to learn the basics of what I just described to you. That's about 10 weeks. Then people go into learning the various individual pieces at their own pace. People that are involved in any of the Scaleology programs are getting 24/7 support through our community. And once a week, actually 3 times a week, we have opportunity to talk directly to me if people so choose. So in summary, online training shows you exactly how to implement the whole model. The 3-part program, the training, the live group coaching, and 24/7 support. You get bottom line results, data 1, minute 1. You pay nothing. If you decide to join the program, you pay 0, absolutely 0. You get it everything, full access to everything for 30 days. And then if you want to proceed, then you pay. If you want to cancel, send me an email and you're out of there. 12 months of access, unparalleled support. I just told you about that. You get fully functional, generally speaking, within about 8 hours per week for 2 or 3 months, and you've got your entire business or department up and running on this model we just showed you. Programs start at $750 a month. They go on for 12 months. Most people find that after the first couple of months, they've had to maybe fund it. From then on, their results are at least worth the minimum investment. And thereafter should be paying on its own. So what's the next steps? Well, here's the question. And there's nothing here to buy, but I want you to get this question answered in your mind. The program actually pays for itself, and I absorb all the risk. You don't, if you decide to move forward, you don't have any reason to hesitate because it's 30 days before you pay. Now, the next step's only one thing that you might want to do, and that is to book a time to talk with me. So book a time with Bill.com, and then we'll talk and we'll see if this program's right for you. If it is, great. If it isn't, then I'll give you access to one of my partners where you can get what you need elsewhere. And that is really all I wanted to say. So Jake, it would be your ball now.
All right. So fantastic. And what do you feel? I mean, if I could maybe ask like a follow-up, what do you feel, people that are thinking about step 1, right? So there's a few different details, and booking a time with you is obviously a step 1.
Right.
But is there out of these things that you've seen that if I am, whether I'm on the front lines or whether I'm a strategic leader, are there components of this that you feel like, look, this is a good step one? You know, like out of all these things, like this would be like the go-to that I would have as like a step one in this journey.
Well, I have a tool which I call Pareto to the third power.
All right.
And
The
the way it
80-20
works,
principle, for those of
yes,
you who don't know.
yeah, and yeah, 80-20 principle. So when I say third power, I'm a big proponent, and Jake knows this, that we all need to focus on the vital few. So if you actually go through 80-20, 80-20, 80-20 three times, you get down to one thing that represents about half your outcome. So I would say the one step to take is to figure out every single day what's the one thing you can do today that moves the, if you will, the needle the furthest down the road to your objectives and goals.
Why do you feel like so many people struggle with that, Bill? You know, I feel like that one thing you just mentioned, it seems so straightforward, right? And I think it's like, you know, it's like, what's his name? The Keller Williams wrote The One Thing, which is it's a phenomenal book. And, you know, why do you feel people struggle with that? Because I feel like, you know, you ask the average person, they're like, I know, of course I want to focus on what's most important, but somehow the whirlwind, you know, just sucks them in and they do this stuff and it never happens. So like, what do you feel like is the limiting factor there? So for everyone out there who's trying to say, hey, look, I don't have a ton of time in my business right now. I need to make the most of my time in uncertain times. What do you feel is like the one, maybe the distinction you see between people who are able to do that really well and the people that struggle with it?
Well, the big difference is, well, first, all of us have an unlimited amount of distractions. Emails coming in, chat messages are going off, webinars show up on our screen, all kinds of things get in our way. And frankly, some of them look more attractive than what we're working on. So that's the primary
or easier,
reason.
Right? It's attractive.
It could be easier, it could be more attractive, etc. So I go through a daily routine, which basically says, was yesterday successful in moving the needle forward? It's either yes or no. I don't beat myself up either way. But then the next thing, I do it every single day, and every one of us should do this, is say, what's the most vital thing I can do today to make the biggest progress towards the goal?
I love that. And it's simple. And then I think the key is you can just check in on it. You know, you can just check in on progress. You can just check in on, you know, that one thing. And I think that that's it, that I see people, especially in startups or even companies that are growing, they put this unnecessary pressure of everything has to be done at once. And then they kind of consistently miss the one thing, you know, they consistently miss the thing that they should be doing. You know what I mean? And like, I feel like so many people, you know, struggle with that idea that if you can do that, you know, you're going to be in a really good spot. You know, if you're going to be able to do that and hone in. So that's great. And I saw we did have, the Q&A is not pulling up.
I do see the question here.
Yeah, jump in.
So we don't know who this is because we have anonymous.
That's right, anonymous.
Really mysterious.
I like it that way.
So the question, yeah, indeed. So identifying people who are ready for a sale, how do we do that best? So I think you don't mean people who are ready for a sale. We're thinking about somebody who owns a business that might be ready for sale. Well, the answer really is, unfortunately, it all depends and you never can tell, because different people have different attitudes about when's time to get out of that. I just talked with one of my clients yesterday who said, I decided I don't want to sell. Instead, I'm going to create an ESOP for my employees to own the company going forward. Yep. So there's a variety of ways of, if you will, of creating what we can call a liquidation event. But first, what we need to do is build the business. So Jake, how do we do that?
Well, and I get if there's a second part to that question, which is like, how do we know who's ready to buy now? Then that's where we'll get into this. So I mentioned a little bit about Skaled and who we are. And what I wanted to do for the next like 15 minutes or so is really primarily focus on a few things, which is how do I start to think about sales and marketing again, or how do I better refine what I'm doing now? Because for a lot of organizations, obviously, look, generating, interest and closing deals is the lifeblood for most of you, if not many of you. Whether it's your role, discreetly, or it's, someone else's in the organization. I think that I'm going to try to talk through both the mindset for today that people need to have, and then I'm going to kind of shift gears and talk tactically is, what am I seeing in the market that people are doing now to pivot? How are they taking what I'm going to walk through now and then putting it into action? Because I feel like so many people right now are stuck. And what I mean by that is that really, if you think about it this way, we've got, this is again, from my conversations. And I would probably say on any given week, I talk to between probably 15 to 20, either CEOs or VPs of sales. And so what that means is I'm talking to them about their business, what's successful, what's working, what's not. And I am shocked by how many people are in the pivoting and thriving bucket, meaning there are industries. And really what I want to get at here is that whenever COVID first hit, and we'll call this late March, early April, and throughout April, everybody went into what I call the turtle shell. Oh my gosh, the sky is falling. We haven't had to make a hard pivot in a long time. Right now, I'm going to get into why that was the wrong attitude in the first place. And what I saw from that was, enter May, enter June, there really became this divergence of company types and within that buyer types. Again, I feel like what happened early on is people was like, nobody's ready to buy. Nobody is, nobody's ready. That, budgets are on hold. And that was very true to some extent. Now things have changed, right? There's industries, my friends, that are doing extremely well. And so I want you to think, first of all of your customers and the potential people you're going to reach out to are in three buckets. They're in an industry that's thriving. And I think that's about like 10, 15% of industries. A lot of tech is thriving. There's a bunch of other goods, hard goods, and some other sectors that are thriving. And for these people, it's business as usual. You should be acting like, it's 2019, August of 2019. There's absolutely no reason to not be proactively selling, proactively engaging people as a part of this. And so I think that's step one, is having this mindset of we're not going to treat everyone like it's uncertain times. We're not going to treat everyone like it's, oh my gosh, the world is falling. So step one is to start to think about your customer base. Who is in an industry that's thriving? You can go look at the stock market. That'll help you. I think I've got an article. I can try to drop it in the chat if I can find it really quick. Trust Radius. If you want to go check out the company, it's trustradius.com. They put out a really good article about industries that are doing really well. So if you go to their website, you can probably find it there too. But this is where you need to be spending your time. Stop focusing on the doom and gloom. Stop focusing on XYZ. And start looking for the pockets of people that exist, because again, there's a lot of organizations that are doing really, really, really well right now. The next bucket is struggling. It's the opposite, right? This is hospitality. This is hotels. This is tourism, right? There's a lot of others. Luxury good, like there's some other sector, well, actually certain segments of luxury goods are like destroying it right now. And that's where you don't want to spend your time. And again, what I feel like happened is pre-COVID, we were lazy. We were treating everyone like they were thriving, when in reality, it's always been this way. You've always had a group that's doing really, really well in your product group or your buyer set, groups that weren't doing so well, and then people that are in between that can be moved to the thriving or the struggling. COVID right now just has a lot of people in that pivoting or that like TBD state. And so what we're seeing is that, but it doesn't do you any good as a business to treat these people or assume that they're in the struggling bucket. No, assume these people are in the thriving bucket. So when you're doing outreach and you're engaging people in the sales process, you have to have the mindset of like, look, I'm going to understand how their business is doing. And if their business is doing well and it fits in XYZ, and I know other people in that space are doing well, then great. I'm going to treat them just like thriving. I'm going to treat them like it's August 2019 again, right? If not, hey, look, our business has been decimated. We just had to do our second round of layoffs, et cetera. Then great. I'm going to put that into the nurturing bucket. We're going to stay on top of them, because again, what's going to happen, and it happens after every single dip and issue. Do we know when things will end 100%? No, we do not. I am not Nostradamus. I do not know exactly when things are going to end. But what I do know is this, is that they will end. And when they do, there is going to be a boom in spending. And I'm telling you, again, in some of these industries that are thriving, we're already seeing it. We're already seeing they're going out and investing in sales technology. They're overhauling their sales methodology. We're closing big contracts with companies that are doing just that. right? They're taking now to even double down on their team. So when they come out the other side, you know, they're ready to just hit the ground running. And so the most important thing that I can do, and I'm going to get into the tactics about how to think about this, is you have to segment your customers into these 3 buckets. You have to have different plays targeted at different customer types based on these buckets. I want you to take that old mindset of everything's bad. Oh my gosh, the world's uncertain. Look, the world is uncertain. Okay, I'm not delusional to think the world isn't uncertain geopolitically, health-wise, etc. But business is still happening. Business is still thriving. And so I want you to take the notion that business is still in uncertain times. It's interesting. That's your life, our lives, right? I'm here in my home office. You're probably in your home office, right? Or some version of it, right? So yeah, we're going through this, but business is growing and you've got to change your mindset. And I hope you use today as that catalyst that you have customers. I don't care what industry you work in. You have customers that fit in each one of these 3 buckets. And so what I encourage all of you to do is take the time, do it this weekend, et cetera. What we had some clients do is, I'm telling you, what they did is they downloaded all 60 sequences or whatever they're running for outbound and inbound. They rewrote every single one of them. And by the time Monday came around, the sales team was back in, ready to rock. That is, and I'm going to get into kind of the mindset here that you have to have, that you've got to do a better job of understanding who's in what bucket and start treating more people, or making the default like people are ready to do business, not that people aren't ready to do business. And so, you know, what are leading sales and marketing organizations doing right now? And I can tell you there's really 3 things that they're doing, right? As I talked about before, the messaging is getting more segmented. I mean, I don't know how many of you can relate to this. I know we've got some BDR managers and some SDR managers on here. You know, the amount of kind of persona-based messaging has been pretty pathetic for a long time. You know, we work with other manufacturing companies like these, and these. And you're like, dude, we have 200 people. Why are we even talking about this? Or, hey, we work with other big logos like this and this. They're like, we're not Pepsi or Facebook, dude. So like, how is this applicable? That the organizations that are pivoting hard and that are thriving are organizations that are now getting micro-targeted. They're taking a look at these different customer segments and they're building out messaging for those individuals. So before they might have had 20 different plays, now they're running 100 and they're seeing results. And it's this and it can be mutations on similar plays, but they're getting more specific on the industries and the roles, you know, of the individuals that are in there. You know, they realize that like, look, every single one of these people could have the exact same job title at a Fortune 500 company. Every single one of these people could be a VP of operations. Every single one of these people could be a director of product. Every single one. But the way that you segment and communicate is going to be based on the sector that they're in, who they are, right? Their motivations, where are they at their point in their career. We've got to go back to the foundation of treating individuals like individuals and not trying to do this bulk one size fits all approach. So you have to think about segmentation. That leading companies, again, what they're doing now is they are getting more granular than they've ever gotten before. And all this does is getting to know your buyer a little bit more effectively. Okay. The next thing they're doing is they're using non-traditional sources. Pre-COVID, there were 128 million business emails sent every day. Now, I don't know what the number is. I'm guessing it's correct, probably closer to 160, maybe 170, 180, right? So email had been a very large part of a lot of people's strategy. Guess what? Email's tough right now. So again, we've got to think about other non-traditional strategies. We've got to think about chat. We've got to think about video. We've got to think about other strategies, right? We've got to think about different ways to engage. LinkedIn, obviously, if you follow me, you follow my content, you know I talk about LinkedIn. The reason I talk about LinkedIn is pretty simple. It's one of the best ways to cut through the noise right now. And you can do that with personalized video. I mean, how many of you even know, where's my phone? The phone's over here. That you can send a personalized video message on LinkedIn to first degree connections, or you can send a voicemail on LinkedIn. The companies that are winning are no longer looking at their plays as calls and emails here and like video and LinkedIn and direct mail here. They're integrating these two. And so the new normal is an integration of the call and email world with new mediums or new channels. And so I encourage all of you to think about how integrated your plays are, right? Because again, the companies that we're seeing that are winning are the companies that are doing just that, right? They are not just doing the same old. They realize, hey, we've got to step our game up. We're doing better segmenting And we're finding different ways other than the same old to actually get in front of people. So that's, the high level. So, all right. So I know I'm going to have some questions here coming up. Last kind of detail here is the third point is they're always optimizing. Okay. And so segmentation, new channels and new ways to engage people. And this is becoming that is the new normal, guys. It is the new normal that you're going to have to do this stuff. And then always optimizing. For me, one of the things that has made no sense to me is sales organizations, in my opinion, do not run like performance organizations. Why do I say that? Let's go look at marketing. Marketing goes and invests $100,000 a month in advertising or whatever. They spend at least 10+% of that to optimize, build new copy, test, new segment, do. Sales, how often do you optimize your outbound? How often are you looking at data, making changes in real time, etc.? Every week, like month, 2 months, 3 months? Guys, what are you waiting for? You have the data. You see what's working. We have to have this always optimizing mindset. In sales, many times, whether it's when we redo our outbound plan or whether we redo our sales cycle, we move into this mindset of set it and forget it. Oh, well, yeah, we did that, right? No, you're pumping tens of thousands of data points through these tools. That's statistically relevant enough. Just go Google law of large numbers, and you have enough data to start to make pivots. And so the modern organization is moving faster. They're treating it like how you do your counterparts in marketing, and they're optimizing that. The other place they're optimizing is the sales cycle itself. That how often are you looking at the average age and stage between each step of your opportunity to know where the bottlenecks are? Again, you're running tens or hundreds of customers through this process on a monthly basis, but you're making changes to your sales process every year and a half, 2 years. Like, we have to change our mindset. Our buyer behavior, they're becoming more informed. They prefer digital channels. They don't want gates. Our buyer behavior is changing, and we have to start to run our sales organizations like a performance organization, specifically around demand generation and outbound and our sales process. We need to be looking at our sales process every 2 to 4 weeks and saying, look, consistently we're having problems in step 4. Let's spend the next 2 months fixing stage 4. Then let's optimize and let's fix stage 3, et cetera, or look at the thing holistically, right? Which is what a lot of organizations are doing. So my advice for all of you is really those 3 things, is that you have to, step 1 is investing in segmentation. Step 2 is integrating your traditional with the what was the non-traditional. And 3 is always optimization mindset. It's killing that set it and forget it. What do you call it? The set it and forget it mindset. So those are kind of the big topics for me. And I know we've got some questions here that they kind of dropped through for me. But I hope that this gives all of you some really, some actionable insights. And again, a lot of times people will ask us about sales, strategy. And sometimes the answer is the boring behind the scenes stuff, right? Like better segmentation. It's like, no, Jake, there's got to be a better closing technique or something. It's like, no, like it's just tactical, right? Or again, we use those tools. We don't have a strategy for it, but we use them. Or optimize. Yeah, we've got tools to track that. Okay, well, is it a culture? Do you have an optimization culture? So that for me is my take on kind of where we're at as an organization and where we need to get to. So, Bill, if you're up for it, we can take some questions. Thank you, everybody. Appreciate you listening to me get all hyped up about where business is headed. So we've got some questions here, Bill. They're coming in. Identify new segments of our product to try. Okay, so let's do this. Anonymous, what are some ways we can identify new segments for our product to try and find those surviving and thriving companies? Well, I'll tell you an exercise that you can go through. And we've got I think we'll drop it in chat. We've got a download that all of you can go click on. It's called Back to Market Strategy. And so that will allow you to go deeper on this, but I'll give you kind of the high level. Go look at the industries that are doing well, or go look at what has happened to our world over the last 5 months. And so, if you are selling IT security, right? Okay, well now guess what? You're selling home infrastructure security, right? Home network security. Guess what? You were selling office furniture. Now you're selling home office furniture. And so I think with a lot of people, it's thinking about what are the markets that are doing really, really well? What are the changes in lifestyle? And then does my product have a pivot point? And whoever posted that, if you want, feel free to post a little bit more about your company. And, you know, I can get more specific, but that's how I would do it. Is I would really think about that. I would really just take a step back and get a day and get a whiteboard and just think about everything that's happening, and then try to test out and develop some value props and test that to the market. So Bill, I'm going to toss this one to you. This is a question we got in prep for this. How many team meetings would you recommend per week to ensure your team stays unified? So you talked about some meetings. I think now there's a lot of people I talk to that are getting kind of like meeting fatigue. I talk to my own team that we've got to get out of meeting hell. You know, is there an optimal number? So again, as you're thinking about leading through change, you're leading through pivoting, you're doing these things. I think we've built this culture now where like, we always have to talk to each other. We always have to be in these meetings because we miss that serendipity of having the office, et cetera. So Bill, do you feel like, is there a ratio or a number of meetings that you've seen that's healthy?
Well, I'm thinking about specifically accountability meetings. I think what's healthy is to have a single meeting per, if you will, cycle. So if you think of an entire company, most companies operate through monthly financial information, and many of their other data points are gathered monthly. So the right timing for a whole company is once per month. Now, on the other hand, if you're running a customer service organization, the cycles are very fast. So they're at around daily, if you will. So every day you need some sort of an accountability meeting. Now, a daily accountability meeting needs to be maybe 15 minutes long.
Right.
A monthly one might be 75 to 90 minutes long. I think marketing, most sales, accountability oriented meetings can be on a weekly kind of a cycle. Most departments sort of weekly. So I specifically said accountability meetings. Other kind of meetings should be not quite avoided at all costs, but you got to have an awfully darn good reason to have a meeting that doesn't have something to do with accountability.
It's such an interesting call out. And I think that you know, it's also, I think people are, I mean, you can tell me what you think. But I feel like part of it is people are just craving human interaction, right? Like to some extent, you know, I think people like, you know, getting a group of 5 people on a Zoom, it's like, oh, I'm not like sitting here with my kids running around or whatever it is. And I feel like we've moved that way with us, you know, Bill, I agree with you 100%. You know, I had a meeting with our revenue team, which is our new business team and our partnerships team. And, you know, we're moving to more of an accountability scorecard. And, you know, I felt that they wanted to run it like a pipeline meeting. And I said, guys, we're never running a pipeline meeting ever again. I'm like, that's not how you run an effective, you know, meeting, from a simple fact of checking in on everyone on where they're at is, you know, that's something that can happen daily from an accountability standpoint. But you shouldn't have meetings that are for one person's benefit. That's been a rule of thumb for me. If there's one person in the meeting that everyone's reporting to, that's a waste of time. That is a massive, but I think Bill, you probably I see it all the time, you know?
Well, I'd like to make a point about this whole social interaction starvation situation. So I saw a couple comments about the ineffectiveness of email. It isn't that email's dead. It's just that people are starved for some sort of interaction with you. So Jake gave us a couple of examples. You can record a 30-second video and get it to somebody via LinkedIn. That's nice. Even nicer is to get somebody on the phone and just say, hey, I got nothing all to sell you. I just want to know, how's the weather where you are? And so the approaches to take with clients are more high touch than they ever were before. Now, inside of your companies, we have the same thing going on, and that is that a lot of us are at home. We're not interacting with each other every day, but resist having meetings just to be able to see each other. Make sure that everybody that goes to the meeting has a reason to be there. And for example, like a pipeline meeting that Jake pointed out, we can get the pipeline data pretty easily by looking in our our pipeline data sheet. We don't have to have a meeting about it to explain, hey, guess what? Our conversions from leads to hot prospects is 14.3.
And then maybe we can try to, and then whoever is responsible for that can come up with a plan on how to fix it. And I feel like that's it. We continue to move more and more to consensus-based decision-making, which
Right.
also is breeding a type of leadership that is fake. And what I mean by that, Bill, and I don't know, we're getting a little like heavy here, but I do want to call it out. My friends, the job of leading is making hard decisions and making the call and taking in data and input, but making the call. And I think what I'm seeing now in this kind of COVID world a little bit is that people are, I think a lot of the meetings that I see happening, Bill, and maybe this is like some commentary more than anything, are people wanting a little bit extra as opposed to just making the call. You know, like, I just want to cover my ass a little bit more here before I make this commitment because of dollars or whatever it is. And I feel like we've got to not be scared right now, leaders, to make the calls and not involve people, but to also make sure that we are not having a bunch of meetings when at the end of the day, the buck stops here. So that would be my kind of hot take.
I just saw a question come in from Glenn here regarding accountability. How do you approach the people who are not meeting their goals? A coaching, mentoring attitude seems appropriate. And I wanted to know how you hold them accountable for not meeting their goals or even making progress toward the goal. All right, so that's a great question. And we're back to a couple points I made earlier. One, accountability meetings, one-on-one or and for the whole team, should be based on the cycle of the team. What's the cadence that's going on? So what you want to do as the leader of your respective teams is to make sure the commitments made during the accountability meeting are due prior to the next meeting. So in other words, if we have weekly accountability meetings with your sales team, make sure the commitments being made have 1 week in duration. Now, if they take longer than 1 week to get done, then you want the commitment made. How far can you get in 1 week? So think about baseball. Yep. Can you get to first base? Can you get to second? So the answer is, I mentioned this 70% thing. And so what that is that's you, the leader, basically negotiating, adjusting the goals so that the scoreboard is lit up 70% of the time. So if somebody is falling behind, the solution is to lower their goal or their commitments until it starts being 70%. Now, at that point, if that is not good enough to be on the team, you got to get them out. Mm-hmm. So you want to manage people's performance by fine-tuning goals, holding them accountable for the commitments that they make relative to that goal, and make sure that the accountability cycle corresponds with the commitments. What you don't want to have happen is, hi, Jake, welcome to our accountability meeting. Have you finished such and such? And Jake says, well, it wasn't due till tomorrow. That won't work. Mm-hmm. We have to have it due on or before the accountability meeting. Glenn, thanks for the question. I gave you a long answer, but I think you raised a great topic, and I wanted to elaborate just a bit.
No, I think it's worth it. There's a book I've got up there. It's called 4 Disciplines of Execution. And if you're looking for a really strong way how to run a scorecard meeting, we've and I don't know, Bill, if you buy into some of the Covey methods, but I think that one in particular is something that we've adapted at Skaled too. Is the accountability scorecard, and working with each group to make sure they know their leads and their lags, and we're focused on the leads every single week. We've got the accountability meeting, and that meeting should take 10 minutes, 5 minutes for a department. These are the leads. This is what we performed. Commits from last week, commits for next week. Any type of roadblocks, next person. We did our marketing our marketing scorecard meeting last week took, I think, 6 minutes. It's fine. It's good. It's what it should take, right? I have hired people to trust them to do the job. We're hitting the metrics we agreed on. Great. And I feel like too often there's like a digression, and the accountability meetings become about a lot more than they should be.
Right. I agree. Yeah, that's called meeting creep, and you don't want that to happen. I'd rather have you adjourn the meeting and then 2 minutes later start the next meeting. This is going to talk about some new product development or something.
That's
but
right.
Accountability meeting, it starts, it stops, then you move on to a new topic in a new, different meeting.
I love that. All right, Joe, or Bill, sorry, Joe's the name. I think we have time for maybe one more question. And so I think this is a good one. Have you seen marketing and sales teams get tighter right now? Or with remote work, do you feel they've been more siloed? How can we change that? So obviously this has been the age-old battle, right? Like a battle / frenemy / friend. I don't know, big brother, little sister. I don't know what it is, but this is like an eternal debate. And I just would be curious, what have you observed over the last 5 months, from executives you've talked to?
About that particular topic?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, about sales and marketing working together or not, in these times.
Well, so the need to do that is increased dramatically. And so I like to think about alignment. If you think about alignment from top to bottom, the sales and marketing are the most closely aligned two teams. So the commitments in that environment actually are cross team. So marketing needs to deliver a committed number of hot prospects sometimes to the sales team. So I like to see, Jake, cross accountability across two teams. Where that takes place is at the next accountability meeting above your department, like with the owner and the other managers that are equivalent to you. That's where those cross accountability commitments can take place.
And do you feel like, yeah, I mean, my take has been, I think what I've seen is I've seen a genuine desire to want to work together more so than before. That because of necessity, I think people have had more of a genuine desire to do it. And some are doing it better than others. So is it getting better? Yeah, I think it is. But at the same time, look, the number one problem we have between marketing and sales alignment is incentives. That if marketing continues to be incentivized on marketing qualified leads and SQLs, and sales is incentivized on revenue, and marketing's not incentivized on revenue, you're never going to fix the problem because you literally are creating a marketing system that that doesn't care about current customer and upsells and doesn't care about what happens after the MQL. Most marketing organizations I find are overly fixated on net new meetings versus generating net new revenue from existing customers and new customers. And that, to me, until you incentivize your marketing organization to have part of their comp, maybe not all of their comp, tied to revenue, I think it's the only way to get rid of these incentives. It's the only way to stop it. So, Bill, I enjoyed it, man. I'm glad we got a chance to do this. Everybody, yes. We dropped Bill's link in there. Make sure to follow him. Book a time with Bill. That's a great domain name too. It's like very easy, Yeah,
I can actually remember it myself all the time too.
I love it. Well, look, everyone, I really appreciate you. Have a great rest of your week, Bill. Thank you again. And we'll see everyone on the weekend update on Friday morning. Take care.
Thank you.